Welcome to the penultimate panel of the day, which is entitled, Is Cloud Gaming the Next Big Thing? I think everybody in the room will think that that's a loaded question, given that this is an Aether event. Because we do believe that cloud gaming is the next big thing. Bit of background on me, I've been in the video games industry for 25 years, since the Jurassic period of massively multiplayer online gaming. Started with Nexon back in Korea in the year 2000, lived through free-to-play online game services, pre-cloud. And for me personally, I have to say that Aether is the holy grail of game hosting, which we've been working towards for 20 years. 2007, Metaverse Roadmap. We said one of the key pillars for the future was ubiquitous, decentralized computing, and that's what we're doing. Anyway, enough from me. What I'd like to do is we have a very esteemed group of panelists here, and I'm going to ask each of the panelists to just take maybe 60 seconds, introduce yourself, and say what it is about cloud gaming. What is it about cloud gaming that you think will make cloud gaming the next big thing? And if you don't think cloud gaming is the next big thing, please don't be shy. So why don't we start down at that end? And name, position on cloud gaming.
Soby, one of the co-founders of Xai. Xai is one of the biggest game changers in the space right now. Our big focus is just abstracting away all the messy stuff of crypto, which is wallets, gas fees, etc. I think that cloud gaming is in a really good position right now because of improvements across bandwidth and computation in general. And with regards to crypto gaming and how cloud gaming intersect, I think it allows games to have a much broader TAM of users that don't need to invest significant amounts of capital to play games that are fun, because I personally think mobile games are kind of shitty, and allowing access to really good games is a great way to grow the amount of users available.
Okay, thanks, Soby. Audrey?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Audrey Akwenye. I'm CTO at Spartan Labs. Spartan Labs is the venture studio arm for Spartan Group. I'm a technical person. I've built mainly focusing on infra. So I did a lot of decentralized infra, especially around data storage and decentralized GPUs in previous projects. So for me, not just cloud gaming, but decentralized cloud gaming is what I think the next big future is. I think just like challenges with hardware, challenges with really reaching 95% of the world that is not able to afford a $2,000 PC. It makes it to where everyone can enjoy this entertainment without some of the restrictions that are currently in place when it comes to gaming.
Okay, next, please.
Hello, my name is Omar. I'm the founder of Moemate. We are making gaming products and co-making procedures. My view on cloud gaming is slightly different. I think we finally cloud gaming is going to see the light. I think the reason because of that would be like entertainment products which use AI because you no longer have these products like years. And that's something that's like I think consumer hardware has a long time to catch up. So that's my view. It's a very bullish cloud gaming.
Excellent. And last but not least, Omar.
Yeah, my name is Omar, CEO of GamesGG, #1 Web3 gaming platform with over 1 million users, showcasing over 450 games. I think cloud gaming does have potential to be the next big thing because of how it opens access to a lot of our community members that live in areas of the world that don't have PCs, that don't have internet cafes or gaming cafes. You can suddenly start playing some of these cool games, directly on a browser, a laptop, a phone, whatever it is. So definitely accessibility is a crucial thing in us trying to reach mass adoption.
Okay, so let me just repeat that. You said that Games.gg is the world's #1 Web3 games platform with over 4 million users?
1 million.
Over 1 million users. Still, I think everybody in the room should be listening to the #1 Web3 gaming platform with over 1 million users. Okay, so we covered a couple of topics there. I think the key one was allowing gamers that don't have the type of hardware that they need to play the latest games to be able to play. So that is obviously one key advantage of cloud gaming. You can sort of take lower end devices, you can take a Mac computer, and you can play the latest games because they're being served from the cloud. let's just take a moment and think about a couple of the other advantages of cloud gaming in general. Audrey, you mentioned decentralized cloud gaming, but before we go there, yeah, allowing gamers to play games that they otherwise couldn't is one key advantage. Can anybody else, I don't know if anybody's got some thoughts on what the other advantages of cloud gaming are at the moment. So, I don't know, anybody want to take that?
You said not decentralized cloud.
Well, I mean, you can go to decentralized cloud if you want to, for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few other advantages, right, which you can take off. But yeah, if you want to go decentralized cloud, that'll be fine.
Yeah, so I would say, like, if you're talking about decentralized cloud, one of the major things is like, access to where the players are. Right now, if you think about cloud gaming, you have a few servers, and if you're lucky enough to be close to those servers, you can experience a better gameplay. But the further away you are, you have more latency, and the experience is not as good. So if you allow decentralized cloud, then you're able to create these small pockets of access where people are able to experience a better level of gaming across the world, and not just in these lucky regions in the US West 2 or whatever.
Yeah, well, I know from first-hand experience, living in Vancouver, if I want to do cloud gaming on AWS, my packets have to go all the way to Portland, Oregon, and back. And there was a joke in the games industry that only Jake Bregman could fix the speed of light, but I don't think any people will understand. But yeah, so that is one, definitely more compute nodes in more places. Anybody else think of anything else? Any more advice?
I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but I think that like the next big unlock in gaming is with AI. It's gonna make like role-playing, interactive, immersive games next level. And we know that the AI products just don't use consumer hardware, right? Like we guys, different kind of GPUs for it, and I think that's why I sort of focus on like cloud gaming, like AI products.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious, right? Like, you can also look at the flip side of it, and you lending your GPU power and essentially monetizing it in a way. When you talk about decentralized cloud gaming, is definitely a big part of it. But I mean, we're a lot more obsessed with our community, and so that's kind of the one main focus that we tend to pivot towards. And everyone always talks about being able to play games they normally wouldn't be able to play with cloud gaming. So I think all of these things are great. But at the end of the day, it's what's in the consumer's mind.
Yeah, so do you want anything to add to that? Or?
Yeah, I think a big one that's maybe overlooked is actually not needing to download the game. I really dislike when I'm about to go play a game. It's there's a 20 gigabyte update that you have to do. I have really good internet speed and really good hardware, but still that extra added friction is really nice to be able to avoid.
Yeah, I think that's really key. So the download or the instant play, being able to play any game within 5 seconds, 10 seconds. This is major because I'll just give you a bit of statistics here. We just did a white paper with Superscale that shows that the conversion rate for games which have instant play is off the charts, like 185% better. Where somebody can just come along and go, I want to play that game as you said there. No 20 gig download, no waiting for 10 minutes to start, right? And so really it also revolutionizes user acquisition and discovery. I don't know, Omar, basically on the Games.gg platform, are you seeing when you have to play now much that there's more take up from users?
Yeah, I think we first did this with browser games, right? So we opened up, I think, 50 plus browser games that you could just play directly on the platform. And without any like marketing or ad spend, these games tend to get a lot of traction just primarily because users are engaging with the game directly. They don't have to click through a bunch of hoops and make an account and sign up and so on and so forth. And with the one example that we actually took to the cloud, Aether Games, they definitely saw much higher numbers in terms of like just people signing up, getting into those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So definitely plays a huge role. Obviously, you remove that hurdle completely and you open the door to a completely new audience.
Yeah, I think even if it's just allowing somebody to play the game for the first 2 hours before you ask them to download, they're now into the game, they understand the incentive. So yeah, I mean, compared with traditional user acquisition with cloud gaming, really reset the tables there. Okay, so next question. I mean, cloud gaming, the next big thing. Obviously, there's been some cloud gaming in the past, right? We've got GeForce now from NVIDIA, although in that case you have to own a copy of the game, so it's slightly different. there's other companies out there that have tried cloud gaming before. I don't know how many people have a Google Stadia controller gathering dust under their television, but I certainly do, right? So, what is it about this next generation? Why has it been that cloud gaming has had a few false starts in the past? And what is it about this next generation of cloud gaming that is actually going to mean that we can think that it'll be the next big thing? So, actually, I always start down there, so I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of differences, right? When you look at, it's a cliche, but when you look at all these games that are doing like play to airdrop campaigns, essentially, like the initial engagement that you get from a community, yes, it's incentivized, yes, it's slightly different, but it definitely is there. And so when you kind of introduce cloud functionality to a game that would have had a hurdle, but now has an incentive to play for a short period of time, your numbers are just going through the roof because everything's kind of focused and centralized within that time frame, right? So it is slightly different. I think with the other examples in the past, it's kind of been an effort to just make all games accessible, right? We talk about NVIDIA, we talk about Google. In this specific scenario, I think primarily because of the niche, when you talk about someone like Aether and the niche that you're operating in and the type of games that you're engaging with, I think that overall culture and that overall kind of wanting to get into the game for that time period and wanting to grind these hours and wanting to get access ASAP actually plays a role in kind of seeing some of the success that we're seeing today. Some of the numbers that we see with like play to airdrop campaigns are better than Sony launches. Talk about Concord, how they failed to have 700 players. I could name 20 games in the weapon space that had multiples of that. So definitely it plays a role.
Yeah, I will just add to that. I think it's kind of like a culmination of like a little perfect storm. You have, more users coming onto the internet, gaining more internet access in developing countries in South America, in Africa. So they're looking for ways to play these games without the hardware that maybe is there. You have, NVIDIA launching GeForce that arguably is really, really good. So now you're able to kind of get an experience that is equivalent to a client-based game. And there's also it's becoming more and more expensive. GPUs are more expensive. Building your own PCs are more expensive. So the hardware cost, like we just had a PS5. Like people were literally fighting over PS5s because there was, production issues. So I think all of these little aspects of not having readily access to hardware, better cloud gaming platforms like NVIDIA, and then also just having more people around the world that's looking for alternative ways to play games. It just makes it a good time for cloud gaming.
Yeah, I was something that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's a function of two things really. One is Moore's Law, right? Just like computers becoming stronger and better. Secondly, bandwidth, right? Like there's developing countries don't have to put in a lot of like the wired infrastructure that we have here. They just go straight to Wi-Fi. So you have things like Starlink. I have a Starlink in my car, right? Like for camping and stuff. And so you have a lot more internet connectivity in the world, a lot more compute in the world, and I think it's really interesting about games is when you use the word gamer as defining, right? You can describe someone as that plays games or doesn't, but we don't use that word to describe people that consume other types of media. Like there's like, oh, I'm a music listener. I'm not a music listener. Oh, I watch movies. I don't watch movies. So I think it's a function of also the amount of people that play games increasing in addition to compute and bandwidth becoming more abundant.
Yeah, I mean, all of the other points, but to answer your question, I think the unit economics has really changed. Like in the past, edge devices were still feasible. Once again, I'm just for example of AI, like in given an information very, like the performance that you get, you're just not going to pay on using hardware. So, like any kind of gaming experience which is going to use your AI is going to depend on cloud gaming, right? So that's
I think timing matters as well. I mean, we talk about, for example, PSP came out over a decade ago, and people argue that it was way ahead of its time. But now you're looking at the Asus, ROG Ally, and all of these different handhelds, and people are starting to be a lot more accepting of mobile gaming as well. So I think there's also an element of timing to it, where maybe it was too soon back in the day. Same for VR, same for a lot of different technologies. But I think today, the culture around mobile gaming and being able to play on the go and playing something as massive as Call of Duty on a small screen is widely accepted. It wasn't a couple of years ago.
Okay, great. So before we do the last couple of questions, I'm just going to do a quick plug for Aether. As I said, I've been doing game hosting for over 20 years. One of the things that I think is important is because we have the deep-in flywheel, which means that we have hundreds of thousands of GPUs available, that we actually didn't have to invest in, we didn't build data centers, we didn't buy our own compute. It actually means that the cost of doing this stuff is now economically viable for cloud gaming for the first time, right? So that's a really key piece. So obviously deep-in decentralization, we touched on it, right? Meaning that we can offer this compute, every neighborhood in the world for a price that makes sense for cloud gaming to finally have its day in the sun or begin to emerge. Can I ask you guys, because you're all Web3, I think, right? Web3 gaming. What else is it about Web3 games or Web3 that means that there's this kind of synergy between the infrastructure of the game, the community? I always like to say, I never thought we could communitize cloud gaming, right? Fundamentally, cloud, like cloud computing, building a community around cloud computing, very, very exciting piece of Web3 for me, right? So are you seeing these groups of people now that are embracing it? As an old guy, it's just been so amazing. So yeah, what else is it about Web3 in particular that makes cloud gaming the next big thing?
I think the thing about Web3 that's kind of interesting compared to other consumers is people give a shit about the tech stack. So developers, maybe users may not care, but developers care if something is decentralized, right? A user cares about what their DeFi protocol is settling onto. So having people that I would describe as optimists, like technological optimists in general, are quite interesting because they actually care about these things, right? Like this idea that for the first time, decentralized compute is economically viable. Why is that economically viable? Wow, because crypto networks are really good at bootstrapping communities and really good at creating economic incentives for people to do behaviors they otherwise wouldn't. Right? If you look at, Bitcoin is deep-in, right? It's literally the biggest deep-in network in the world in terms of how much investment has gone into it. And so I think you have this user base that is hyper acutely aware of what the technology stack that they use versus the average user doesn't know what their web app is hosted on or whatever, versus in Web3 I think people are hyper aware, like even if you're playing games, like, oh, my assets in this game, they live on Ethereum or they live on Solana or they live on Xai or they live on Arbitrum, whatever. And I think it's that unique combination of users that are just very acutely aware and passionate about these new emerging technologies that make it have this affordance to allow a community to perform around it.
All right, Audrey?
I would also, I think that every person, whether Web 2 or Web 3, finds community in the things that they're passionate about. If you look at a Web 2 context, you have Xbox people who are diehard players versus PS, players. So it's in our nature, the things that make up our lives. It's easy to try to build community around those with like-minded people. The thing that Web3 allows is that not only are you able to find your people and find the things that you're passionate about and find other people that share those interests, you're actually able to own, you're able to participate in the ecosystem that you're a part of. As in Web2, you're just a consumer of the product. So that's very compelling to a lot of people who spend their lives, working on these games.
In a way, what you're saying, players they become over champions in a way, so they feel invested in the game, so they want to play the game because they're part of the story.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I have one.
I think for me, it's just obvious that Web3 is just used to running nodes, mining Bitcoin and running nodes right here. So there's always this outside problem.
Yeah, I think it's also a bit of geography, right? So for once, the East is actually far more ahead compared to the West. You talk about Asia, you talk about even regions in Africa and Middle East, a lot more receptive to Web3 gaming. And I think that's where kind of that connect happens, because the computing power, the spending power is far less on this side relative to that side. And so while there's pushback from the West on kind of the tech and the games and scams and blah blah blah, you've got the East actually open to some of these games and open to this technology. And now that you're introducing cloud gaming, I think you open the doors even more. So you normally would have targeted the West because they have all the consoles and PCs, but now you can target the East a lot more aggressively.
Yeah, well, I remember clearly back in 2004, the pushback to free to play, right? Everybody was like, I hate free to play, it's sacrilegious, right? The reaction from the West is very similar to that, right? But anyway, you can stick your head to the sand or you can be part of the future. And on that note, about being part of the future, the last question. Okay, if you think about, let's say, the next 6 months, but I'll let you have 12 months if you can't think of anything in 6 months. What do you think is going to be the most important thing to happen in the next 6 to 12 months that helps us make the statement cloud gaming is going to be the next big thing true, right? 6 to 12 months, single thing that everybody here should be looking out for. Or paying attention to.
Yeah, the quality of games, I think. If the quality of games is not high enough, you don't really need cloud gaming to really do anything. But I think now that we're seeing games such as Parallel, like Star Atlas, etc., as long as the quality keeps going higher and higher, the need for cloud gaming will continue to exist within Web3 gaming. I think if the quality was to decline, if you look back 3 years ago when it was just Axie and Axie copycats, you didn't really need cloud gaming at all. So I think that's the one thing I'd keep an eye out on.
So you're saying Parallel and Star Atlas, two to watch?
Yeah, among many, right? There's Off the Grid, there's a lot of games that I want to start naming.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we're talking about both those companies.
Sound like it's gonna be AI-based games, right? Like AI-based games.
Any AI-based game you want to give a shout out to?
I mean, they're coming to production, but they're working on right now. So,
Yeah. Okay.
TBD.
Do you have a token?
TBD.
Okay, TBD. TBD. Okay.
I'm also excited about how AI will play a role in gaming in the next 6 to 12 months. And I think that cloud gaming makes it to where you can have more updates and more model changes throughout the gameplay. So that's really interesting. My absolute favorite Web3 game at the moment is Wild the World, Wild the World. Yeah. The founder, Frank, is amazing, and they just launched their Miami. It's like a race car game, so they've launched a new 1 hour of like racing that you can do in this Miami map. And then I'm also really excited about Parallel and what they're doing, incorporating like these self-learning models self-learning AI models into their gameplay as well.
Amazing. And last but absolutely not least, sorry.
Well, it's awesome to see everyone talk about Parallel because I've seen Western Parallel. So shout out to that team. So I think my take is has little to nothing to do with content and actually about the intersection of AI and cloud computing, like how much more efficient can AI make cloud gaming, cloud computation, to the point where not only will third world users use it, but even first world users will go, wait, why would I buy a PlayStation 5 or why would I buy a gaming console when I can actually experience something with very low latency, maybe even lower latency than what I can afford, even in a $2,000, $3,000 budget. And I think in general over the next 6 to 12 months, especially with the O1 release that we just saw, these AI models are getting really, really fucking good, like really, really good. I wouldn't be surprised if we're even 12 months away from prompt to game, right? And having that capability with a cloud interface, I think will be quite strong.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, or are we good? We good? Okay, well, thanks everybody. As Jim Morrison from the door said, the future's uncertain, the end is always near, but what a great future it is. And very happy that we're all part of it right here. So, as Jim Morrison also said, I woke up this morning, I got myself a beer. So let's just do that now. And I'd like to thank DNA House, and I would especially like to thank our panelists. So if you give them a quick round of applause. And absolutely, the conclusion is that this house believes that cloud gaming is the next big thing. So thanks very much, and we will see you at the bar.